I have already interviewed Casey Muze once before. Although it is not necessary to listen to that episode first, it will add context to Casey's story as well as his organization's history. I like to keep my episodes as self-contained documentaries on a person I find interesting. However, when I last interviewed Casey, I knew there was more to this amazing man's story, but I also knew he was not quite ready to express it. So, when Casey called me about a possible interview to promote his chapter in a new book on mental health, I knew I wanted to pursue the opportunity. Casey Muze is just as I remember him, calm, thoughtful, and deliberate in his speech. The virtues that first compelled me to call him the Mr. Rogers of hand drumming. I hope you will join me once again as we go and meet Casey Muze. Okay, so today I'm re-interviewing Casey Muze. He's been on the podcast before. Definitely go check out that other podcast to hear more from him, but I'm going to go ahead and let him sort of introduce himself and what he does.
Yeah, my name is Casey Muze, and I am your hand drum educator and mental health professional of all things therapeutic purposes. And if that is a little muddy for you, I hope I can make that a little bit clearer in the process of this interview.
Okay, so you reached back out to me because you're actually involved with a book that's going to be coming out in a handful of weeks here. And so I guess the first question is sort of what's the title of the book? And then what is the purpose of the book?
So the title of the book is Holistic Mental Health Volume 2. So there's a Volume 1 out. You can Audible it through Amazon. But it's a collection of mental health professionals and providers across the United States. And I am humbled and honored to be one of 2 Texas representatives to have a chapter in this book. So, yeah, man, it's awesome. It's really cool. I think what's super cool about it is I get invited to be in this space of mental health and mental health provision with things that I have crafted and created myself because I've known the connection that drumming and writing has with mental health and all of the barriers of the naysayers. And it's so much fun.
So I guess how were you chosen for this? How did they?
So good old social media, man. So I downloaded this new social media app called Alignable. You know about Alignable?
No, I don't.
So Alignable, man, and I don't know what the difference is, but I downloaded it, started perusing through it, and I got in contact, or I think I got emailed by the curator of the book, who I believe is in New York, and she set up a Zoom conference because she was like, "Hey, I was reading your website, which is avenuespeak.com, and she was interested in my services." And I had read that she is the main author and curator of this book, the Mental Health Volumes book, where number 1 is out already and number 2 will be out in a handful of weeks. And we ended the Zoom conference with her presenting me the opportunity to contribute a chapter to this book. And being on the next portion of it was going to be an author breakthrough call or something or another, but all of the authors were on this Zoom conference call. And yeah, that was my introduction to how I got involved in the book.
Yeah. So once you're kind of in, you told me that you had sort of a short time frame to write what you had to write. Was there already...
I had like 2 weeks.
Was there already an idea behind it? Did they give you a sort of prompt or...
So in the first authors meetup online over Zoom, they encouraged us to come up with chapter titles, and as well as bylines, which are just the line underneath the chapter title as well. And so we did that. And then after I came up with the chapter title, which is the one that you read, I was unsure if I was going to keep that title. And then I just kept it because I was unsure if I was going to go that route and make the title match the story. But in a space of Black mental health and the deficit of knowledge of resources and the deficit of application of resources, I figured I had no choice to make that the title and make it about that. And so seemingly that's exactly what happened, and it's what I did. And so I kind of took charge in that space and allowed myself to be a conduit of what that looks like. So, yeah.
So that title you mentioned, it was the anxious rhythm of the muted Black boy.
Yeah.
What does that mean for you?
It's a very personal title. It's just my journey of going through anxiety and not having a voice and not knowing how to find the tools and use the tools to make it out. But that's also kind of a representation of me and how teasing, nagging, hazing existed in my life when I was a child. And so it kind of put me in a space of not truly opening up and not really allowing people to know who I am and what truly makes me joyful. And so that in turn led to me not knowing how to open up my mouth when I was going through anxiety and depression. There was a huge portion of it that even my parents didn't know how deep the anxiety and the depression was. They knew that I was diagnosed because they took me to a doctor whenever I was diagnosed with it. But I think the dynamics and all of the just details that were really dark and deep, they didn't know. I didn't tell them. I didn't open up my mouth. My roommates didn't know. I didn't tell them. None of my friends really knew. I just suffered in silence by myself. Mm-hmm. So like I would pace back and forth by myself. I'd experience a bit of incontinence by myself. And man, it was just wild and lonely.
Okay. So I guess, is this anxiety and depression, is this something that happened throughout your life, or was there some sort of event or something that sort of...
The anxiety and depression happened when I was living in Dallas, Texas, going through school for music production. I don't know if there was one event or one occurrence. I don't know if it stemmed from childhood and how I was raised and then having to force reality. I don't know if it was because I was working like 10 hours a day and then going to school like another 10 hours a day and then like lack of sleep and just not really taking care of my health. I'm just going to assume that all encompassing things, it was everything just balled up into one. I know there was a huge portion of it that continued of me not knowing who I was and not knowing what my purpose was. And then also traveling the world of music production and sound engineering and it not working out the way that I wanted it to. And just feeling like I could not break through and feeling like I was just failing time after time after time.
Mm. So what was it that I guess you expected out of music production and all this to happen?
Listen, I expected to be the biggest music producer in the whole entire world. I was in music production school in Dallas, Texas, and there was a period of time where I was signed to an indie production label in Dallas, and like I was, in my mind, I was on the right track. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna let you guys read the chapter. I'm not gonna give a bunch away. I would love to open up conversation after the book is out and after several people of the world have read the chapter. But man, yeah, I felt like I was on the way to being that, and then it just did not happen. And I know I just had to come to the reality that God had different plans for me. And so at some point in time, I had to leave Dallas first and foremost. And at some point in time, I just had to switch and change everything up, and then just change how I did music and who I did music for.
So what was the move from Dallas? Was that getting closer to family? Was that getting away?
It was getting away from temptation and crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, through this whole process of mental health, I read the chapter. I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, it was a good chapter.
Yeah. I want people to read it.
It's a good chapter. It opens up really well.
So through this whole, through that, you talk about, you're sort of discovering your own process of it, starting out with, kind of prescription and, being on that. And then, I don't know, it almost sounds like, which I almost got the muted out of that. It was almost sort of like this tranquilizer that kept you from, I mean, it's probably literally a tranquilizer. But so then you kind of start to discover your own method of controlling this anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
And so was it the muse coming to you and saying, try this thing out, or was there already some sort of idea in your head?
I think there was already some sort of idea. I mean, you guys gotta watch the last episode that I did with Isaac, but because it kind of put some pieces together. But I mean, Isaac knows drumming has been in my life since the age of 2, and I've watched my mom do education since the age of 1, and just putting pieces together. At some point in time, I just realized that what I was doing was not working, and doing nothing was not working. Just laying in bed and wallowing in my own pity did not work. And so I woke up one day and just tried the only thing that I knew that worked deeper. I tried drumming differently. I tried drumming more intentionally, and it just I found it to work a little bit, so I kept going. And so that's what happened. Is I think I just kind of put pieces together and was able to sit and reflect. I know that going through, and I say going through, I think that's really important to understand, is going through anxiety and going through depression. Not that I was anxious or I did have anxiety or I was depressed, but I was going through it. Having those verbal affirmations was a big tool for me so that I wouldn't attach myself to those labels, right? So that was big, and that was huge for me. And that allowed me to have courage to get up and use tools like drumming and like writing.
Yeah. So where, because most of what you're known for is the drumming.
For sure.
You also incorporate a lot of writing into your work and everything.
Sure.
So what role did writing play? Was it the sort of, I know a lot of people do journaling just to get that out. I probably should do it, but I'm too lazy to be more
Isaac.
productive.
Come on, Isaac. Nah, man. Writing is amazing. It's such a cool tool. That's why, and I know that's why I do the writing workshops that I do for adolescents, because if I would have started writing in the space that I did when I lived in Dallas, whenever I was a teenager, maybe things looked differently. I don't really know. At the same time, I think my life has turned out pretty well. So I'm not complaining about anything. But I do know that writing in the same space as drumming served me mentally, and I'm going to say this word, medicinally, as equally. So I know that celebrating that gift from God and allowing it to be present and cultivated through me is the only way that I know to celebrate that. So I do those writing workshops for teens because they work, and I know they do, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, I guess, because I know you've probably done more research than just like, okay, this feels good, I'll go with this, and
for sure,
I'll sell it to everybody.
For sure.
So
talk about dopamine, serotonin, central nervous system. I mean, bilateral, blah blah blah. Yeah.
So what is it about this combination of hand drumming and writing that you have found has really helped people? Do you have anything?
I don't know that it's the combination. I just think it's just those two separately. Not drumming is not meant for everybody, and writing is not meant for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be a complete ridiculous person if I didn't celebrate the two as they've been given to me by God. But not those two together, not really. Just the fact that they both exist separately in their own spaces.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever read, do you know who David Burns is?
I do not.
From the Talking Heads?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
He wrote a book, and it's a wonderful book called How Music Works.
Mm-hmm.
And it's part autobiography, part textbook,
okay,
part history of audio itself.
For sure.
And in one of the first chapters, what he poses is about the context. The context we create music in is what influences what we create.
Yeah.
So, he talks about what we associate with as spiritual music,
Yeah.
For, most Europeans, people who grew up Catholic and stuff, it's very much trying to think what the word is for single voiced, monophonic, very long notes and stuff.
Yeah.
The reason being, these were created for cathedrals. We had these long things. If you had these complex rhythms and everything, the reverberation would just turn it all to noise,
For sure.
Whereas, and he kind of points it out in the book, it's almost seen as like more primitive cultures or whatever. They only play, these more primitive. But the truth is, it's because of the context they're in. You have the hand drumming, voices, shouting, all that works much more because religious ceremonies were carried out in sort of an open area and stuff. And, you can have these very complex multi-voiced instruments and vocalizations and stuff. And I almost wonder if that could be the same for people. For some context, maybe the drumming in that context works best for them.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you were saying, a different thing for different people. Their context could be the writing.
No, most definitely. Most definitely. I would not. I would definitely agree with that. I wouldn't argue that fact at all.
Yeah. So, I guess from there, because you've, like we said before, sort of branched out from just your own sort of therapy, you're trying to give it to other people. So, where does the inspiration for that come from?
Because in a space of East Texas, I need you guys to understand that medication is not the only answer. And I think, did we touch on this last time a little bit, maybe?
We probably did.
Yeah, either way, medication is just not the only answer to mental health. And I'm not telling you, I'm not one of these therapists that picks a side and says I'm pro medication or I'm no medication at all. I'm saying that I'm encouraging you to open your hearts and open your minds to things that you have not considered, and understand that it's important to explore the balance of these things, right? There are some mental health situations to where medication is absolutely needed. There are some situations to where you can try to live a life that does not include medication, right? I'm simply offering a space of cognitive development that touches your cognitive processing directly. You heard blood-brain barrier, right? So blood-brain barrier are symptoms of consumption, right? So blood-brain barrier is how quickly medication takes to hit your central nervous system through its route of administration, right? Whether you do transvenously, whether you do orally, whether you do topical, because you rub stuff on your skin, right? Those things that are transvenously are the quickest to hit your blood-brain barrier, right? But if you look at drumming, because it's the most tactile, because you're physically in action while you're doing it, it's even quicker to hit your blood-brain barrier. But it's also the long-lasting, because you develop methods and ways of thinking that are truly you, that are longer lasting than if you were to take a medication. The facts are there, the research is there. Also, living in East Texas, there's just a lot of denying of things that are homogenous or wellness or holistic. And so I fight that barrier a lot. However, I really don't care. That's what's so great, is I just simply don't care.
Yeah. So, trying to think of a good way to go past this. So I guess let's get into, because you talked about in the chapter, you've mentioned it here, how you found this is what God wants you to do, is avenue speak and all that. Was that, I'll just, throw away any journalism, and say, was that some divine inspiration you had from the beginning, or?
So I'm gonna go ahead and respond to this question. So actually, this sweatshirt that I'm wearing here, this is a logo of a nonprofit organization that I started in Nacogdoches, Texas, in 2018. No.
It says 16 on there.
2016. Thank God for me wearing this one, because the other one doesn't have that on there. 2016. I moved in late 2015, started in 2016. Good for your observation, Isaac. I applaud you. Yeah. So Star Avenue CO was started in 2016. Literally, and this is the transition. I just moved to Nacogdoches, Texas from Longview, Texas, post Dallas, Texas, and this is not in the book. So
no spoilers.
No spoilers at all. So when I got to Nacogdoches, Texas, I was in a place of exhausted in the space of musicality that I was living in, who I was providing to. By who I was providing to, I'm going to say I was providing to myself selfishly, because some of the professions in music, which is in the book, so I'm not going to give that away. Some of the professions of music that I was living, I was only doing to make myself feel good. I was only doing for self-satisfaction. I was only doing for gratification of myself. I would live for the applauses. I would live for people saying, yo, man, that was good. I love the way you did that. I love the way we experienced that, right? And in a space of realizing that God wanted my life to look differently, when I moved to Nacogdoches, I guess I just felt like there's no better time to do this, because I now live in a new place geographically, right? And here's what's crazy. I had only 2 hand drums. If you look around in this room, there's like an infinite amount. And not to mention that this is not all I have.
Yeah.
But over the course of Star Avenue CO, which is a nonprofit organization that lives in Nacogdoches, Texas, Avenue Speak was born out of Star Avenue CO, of me falling on my face and figuring out how to talk to people and how to speak to people and what the verbiage looks like and how to sit in the business world and to have conversations about these things that people didn't believe in. And it was a more rigid environment because people believed in it less than what people do here in Tyler. So it was my training ground to develop my verbiage, my professional persona, my walk, my talk, the lingo, my confidence, my structure, just everything got developed from that point. And I don't even know that I connected all the dots on, because it literally started with me doing monthly bonfire sessions at my house that was on a street called Star Avenue with 2 R's, not 1 R, StarRravenue, right? And it just like everything grew from that and progressed from that to me going to Haiti and doing drum circles and writing workshops in Haiti on a mission trip collaboration with another nonprofit. I mean, everything started there as far as the education and cognitive development.
Yeah. So I think now is probably the time for people switch over to the episode and watch that, because I'm kind of worried we're just going to go back onto the same track.
I do too.
As that one before.
Because there's a lot of connections there.
Yeah.
So just go back and watch that.
Go back and watch that one. But so I guess who is Avenue Speak for, and how can people get involved? How can people sign up? What?
Avenue Speak really is for everybody. But I mean, right now we serve. I have drumming programs for veterans, for dementia and Alzheimer's. I have drumming programs for neurodivergency, so autism, Down syndrome, ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, but also cerebral palsy. Also, I have drumming programs for ECE, which is early childhood education for motor skill development and cognitive development in that setting. So specifically those 3 areas for dementia and veterans, for ECE, early childhood education, for neurodivergency, right? But it's not limited to just those 3. I mean, it's for everybody, but the programs are written ideally for those 3 demographics. The writing workshops that we have right now are only cater our adolescents. There's talk of expansion and what that looks like, but that's where they sit right now.
Mm-hmm. And a third thing that I don't think we've really talked about much in this episode or the previous one is the mentorship. Mm-hmm. So where did that inspiration come from?
Because as a African-American male, young African-American boy, I had really awesome mentors in my life, and that's probably how I sit where I am right now, and I know the power of what that is, and I just wanted to serve in that place and give wisdom back. So I don't give mentorship to African-American males specifically. I have had several clients from Lufkin, Texas and Livingston, Texas to Longview, Texas, all the way to here in Tyler, Texas. But that's why King Avenue Mentorship exists, is because I know that there are lots of men out here in this world that just need guidance and created space to have emotions and know where to go with those emotions, and also know where to travel and find purpose for themselves, and also identify purpose for themselves and how to cultivate that energy and use it.
Mm-hmm. So would you say, as a young man, did you have that idea, that purpose for yourself?
No.
Or was that something you had to...
No, I didn't know that. I really didn't know. I didn't have any of that until I moved to Nacogdoches.
Yeah.
In 2016 or 15. Yeah. This was in 2000. Yeah. Dude, I moved to Nacogdoches on like December 25th of 2015. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, no, I didn't have... I just wanted to be a music producer for the rest of my life. but was getting lost in the sauce of temptation and vices and mental health. And so, yeah, I didn't gain any purpose and identify any purpose until I moved to Nacogdoches.
Yeah. So when is the time in your life where you say, this is what God wants me to be doing?
Probably when I got invited to go to Haiti. That's probably the time I said that. Yeah. In 2018, I think that was.
Yeah. Was that when you arrived there, or was it just sort of like these things are working out?
The whole conversation about the opportunity led me to believe and know that I was doing something right. And the whole conversation literally took place a year before I even went to Haiti. So the conversation started in 2017. I didn't go till 2018. Yeah, no, that was a turning point. And like every single pivotal moment after that caused continuous realization, just allowed me to keep going and not stop.
Mm-hmm. So I guess, because we're getting dangerously close on getting back to the last podcast, if there's somewhere where you would like to take this podcast.
So getting back to the book, right? And the book is amazing to me because I never thought writing would take me in the place of being a published author whatsoever. Because, I mean, literally at this point in April, I will be considered a published author. And it's humbling. It's amazing. It's honoring. It's just in a place of flourishing. I know, because, I mean, now at this time, like I serve as the drumline instructor for Caldwell Fine Arts Academy, which is another thing. But all these things are connected together. And I'm super excited to be able to release this book in the world and be transparent through this story and start another open dialogue of conversation about what it looks like. Yeah, I mean, from here, I do the book signing tour, the East Texas book signing tour here in Tyler, Texas at the Foundry Coffee Shop, and in Nacogdoches at Boss Light Bookstore, and somewhere in Longview. And those three places are really important to me because now I exist and live in Tyler and Nacogdoches, and we don't have to talk about that because I've given you guys most of that already. I mean, that's a whole nother lineage. But I was originally born in Longview, Texas, and so I think that those three places are just really cornerstone to me and just mean a whole lot. So no, man, I'm excited about the journey. I'm excited to be able to allow people to read this chapter and read the other individuals that diligently wrote in 2 weeks about all the heart that exists in mental health from their perspective. So,
yeah, man. No, I'm looking forward to following along. I mean, even since we did our last interview and everything, I've followed along on Instagram and stuff, just seeing how your stuff is expanding and growing.
Yeah.
Now, you're going to be an author and stuff, and
yeah,
I'm really excited to see what's next. And
dude,
I'm honored that in whatever way I got to be a part of it, man.
Yeah, man. No, it's super cool. It really is. I'm excited to see how the rest of this year goes and the growth that exists there, and then whatever 2025 looks like. I don't know.
If we're still here,
I'll still be here. I guess I gotta write a whole book at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what it's turning into, because also with all of this is I continue to be in these places of storytelling, and so I guess I just like keep being forced to write a chapter at a time.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I enjoy it.
Well, thank you so much for letting me sit down and talk to you, and It's always great to talk to the Mr. Rogers, a hand drummer.
Oh man, yeah.
Oh, hi, you actually made it to the end. Not many people do that. I guess you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and like and subscribe. Share it with people if you want to. And just tune in next time because I'm always interviewing different people. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
Saying how